Hey, this is Todd. I think this will be a fairly quick and dirty video. I know, famous last words, but I'm going to try it. What I'm going to be talking about is something that I discovered over the weekend. I think it might have been through a mention on the OSR Discord, might have been somewhere else. I can't exactly remember, but it seemed like something that was a pretty interesting tool, and I thought I would share it. Essentially to give you the TLDR version of this whole thing, and it's not terribly complicated, is that there is a, I guess, deep in alpha, kind of in development game called Song of the Eons. You can download whatever the latest version is for free on itch.io. I will provide all the links in the show description. You can download this in beta. I forget what version number it is, but it's a really low number version. I think it's been in development for a few years. I have no idea ultimately what's going to happen with that game. That's kind of beyond the scope of this whole thing. But as it stands right now, if they don't do anything else with this piece of software, and I apologize if you're hearing of course, as soon as I hit record, a police car comes roaring down my street with the sirens blazing. If they don't do anything else with this software, right now it looks like to me an amazing tool for really quickly creating random but realistic seeming planets. The realistic seeming is the important part of this equation, because there are lots of tools out there that will just throw up some random terrain. And of course, you could use drop dice, or you could use something else to create random terrain. Problem I always have with that random terrain is it feels a little bit too random. Sometimes it's nice to have stuff a little bit off or interesting, but often I feel like there's a bunch of stuff that seems a little bit too whimsical, a little too wackadoo. I usually like to start with just a vanilla, plain, just sort of presetting the canvas, because I'm going to put all kinds of my own wackadoo stuff in there. But when I have to go back and I have to undo a lot of the random stuff that's been put in, and depending on what tool you're using, it might not be that easy to do that. Then it's like, well, I'm doing a lot of work to try to get this the way I want it. Boy, I wish there was a way I could maybe get something closer that I could have without having to put all kinds of work. And just in the few times I've been doing this over the weekend, messing around with this Songs of the Eons did that. So let me switch to the window so you can see what I am talking about. There we go. You'll notice here is just the front of the launcher. There's going to be some whole game in here. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know if it will ever come. What we're interested in right now are in, I think, let's see, I don't think there's mentioned any options. I'm trying to remember. So the options aren't going to give us too much. Generate world, and then if you want to load a world you've already created, you can use explore world. Those are the two things we're really super interested in. You see, I've clicked on that. It shows up a window where you can generate terrain, or you can generate with vegetation. I'm not sure why you'd only want to generate it with terrain, but you're welcome to. The couple times I've been doing it, I've been using the vegetation. There's a few other tabs here. I think there's some tooltip text. I haven't really messed too long or too much with these particular options. Seed, keeping it 0 is just going to choose a random seed. If you wanted to write down a seed, so you could come back and use that seed and then change sliders to see how a particular seed might get changed to that, you can do that. Obviously leave it 0, which means it's just going to grab a totally random seed for me. I've got a whole bunch more options. I think the only things, did I put this in 2 to 8? Oh, this is the amount of super oceans, amount of minor oceans. No, I don't think I mess with any of these, but of course you can. And this is really getting into what I like about it, is because it's using a scientific or maybe pseudoscientific or some kind of understanding of the way planets form and are shaped, at least Earth, so that you're not just getting, oh, here's random blah, blah, throw it out there. Or, oh, we're just going to make some clouds, sort of height map, and then do that, blah, blah. No, it's going to, I'm sure there is at some point where it's has to be taking some random shapes, but it's trying to create plates and use tectonics and do all these things, which I think give a more, at least Earth style, realistic geography at the end of the day than other things. So you could set all this stuff up in here. I think the only ones that I played with, and I'm not sure how much of this stuff gets saved from session to session. It is in deep beta, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. There, depending on what version you download, there might be bugs. There's obviously stuff that's not yet either operational or fully operational or whatever. So, it's kind of not use with caution. It's not going to do anything, not going to destroy you. But keep in mind when you're doing this stuff that maybe write down, if you find some settings you really like, maybe write them down, take some screenshots, because you never know when you might log in and they might not be there. I think what's the only ones I changed? Yeah, I changed this. So I think I changed these. So I don't want obviously max C percentage 100%. I don't want that. I think I put in 0.8. And I think I put in 0.4 and I didn't change anything else. So I think I want to say what Earth is 60 or 70% water. So I just sort of picked two numbers within there because I'm looking for sort of Earth-like configurations, Earth-like planets, but you can play around with these as much as you want. I'm sure you'll get all kinds of great, wonderful, and maybe even strange type things. But that's it. You can do as many of these or as little of these, tweak them as you wish. Once we're done, see, you could just to give you an idea of all the different things we could set up. Once you're done with all that, you're going to hit that generate world. Oh, I see you could save a configuration. Okay, so you can save and load configurations. That's good. I didn't play with that before. Let's go ahead and hit generate the world. Mini and terrain money went. All right, so here we have a planet, and it doesn't look like much because we're zoomed out. But look at this. Ooh, we're zooming in. Now we got a lot. We can see here in the little mini map, and it looks like, unless I haven't figured it out, I don't see a way to be able to use the mini map to quickly navigate. So we're gonna have to use our mouse and kind of scroll around. But look at this. Lovely land masses with rivers, and we have some mountain ranges down here. We have several layers, as I mentioned, we can look at. This one, I think, is called the realistic layer. I believe even on this layer, we should be able to click on things and we can get the biome basically out of it. So you can click on all the stuff you want to know. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's rocky desert. Okay. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's alpine. So actually, those are mountains. These are rocky deserts. Oh, that's forest temperate broadleaf. Ooh, that's continental shelf. That's abyssal plains, right? Kind of, deep ocean, shallow ocean. So this is the realistic view. Great. So we can kind of tool around the map. We can look at all these wonderful rivers, look at all this stuff. Now, I love the rivers. I don't see a way to bring them over into campaign cartographer or anything yet, because we're going to get a planetary view, which means we're not going to get, there's not enough resolution, if I'm recalling correctly, I do not believe, to get the rivers in there. What we will get is these dark areas here that represent, these river edges that are obviously more verdant than the surrounding areas that are not touched directly by the rivers. These we will get. So if it's important, we could probably put those back in. Maybe at some point we'll figure out some way, and I'll do another video when I can figure this out more about how to get these rivers and things. But we have these great continents. And if we zoom in close enough, we'll see that it actually is using hexes. But we're not going to get this close. Maybe there's a way to do that. You could, I'm thinking about it now. Maybe you could rotate this somehow and take some screenshots and import them that way. If you wanted to do something closer, you might be able to do that. That's actually an idea. As far as I know, we don't get that option when we're exporting these maps. And what I want, and the purpose of this video, what I'm interested in at this moment is exporting the entire planet rather than a particular portion. So we'll put a pin on that for a further, some kind of further adventures into this. But we get a lot of nice, neat stuff. Here we have these different layers right now. Oh, it's not realistic. It's called real life. We also have one that's called biomes. And yeah, this is a lot of garish, but this is the garish colors, but this is going to be super useful when we're getting it into Worldographer, because here it's going to show us all these different, really clearly laid out biome information. So all those, all our hex map symbols, they're going to map to these, basically. The one thing I found that isn't here, and I don't know how to get it here, or how to do that yet. It's maybe the one part of this whole thing that's a little bit short for me is hills. We get alpine, which is clearly mountains. Hills just belong to whichever biomes they're in already. So what you'll have to do, the one way you may need to tweak this is if you're interested in hills, if you feel like some terrain should have hills in it, you're probably gonna have to go in and add in the hills, because hills don't represent, as far as I know, they don't represent their own biome, and they certainly don't. I've looked at the list of biomes, and I will put a link where someone was nice enough in the wiki for this game to put all the color coding and the biomes in a list so you can see what these mean. For example, this red stuff's actually coral reef. It's not some kind of crazy lava. So we have all this. There are other views. There's a height map, which we can use. And you might say, well, why don't you use the height map and the biomes and use the height map for your hills? Well, you could. There probably is a way to. The problem I see here is that I don't think in something like Worldographer, there's a way to layer two different images. Maybe you can. You might be able to say something and say, hey, just handle these colors. Make yellow hills, make brown, I don't know, more hills. Maybe what is this dark color? Is that the alpine? There might be some way to do it to get this information out of here in a way that we can use. I haven't found it yet. So I'm just kind of showing it off as a weakness right now. But I think overall the strengths of what this can do, just the way I have it now, is enough that I'm willing to work with the weaknesses right now. But if I could find a way to figure out how to get some of that height information out in a way that we can use in Worldographer at this point without having to do too much fiddle faddling, we'll do that. But for right now, we're going to stick with biomes. The next thing we need to do is we just need to export as PNG, which is going to take a couple seconds, I guess. And it is going to throw it in a folder, and it's going to spin the world around while I'm pulling up the folder. Something to keep in mind is stuff is just kind of kept in basically a random folder in the where you install the game. And there's really no install. You're just going to unzip things and you can run it. So that's nice. You don't have to install anything. But what's going to happen is it's going to put things in an export subfolder, and it's just going to overwrite whatever's in there. So if you're working on a map and you save it and you export it and then you leave and you bring up a new map and you export it, you're going to lose the old export. So what you're looking at right now is here is our map. This is in, I think, Equa Rectangular or something like that. I think it's called Equa Rectangular. I don't recall exactly what it is. Put in the one thing. So we have this version of the map, and we could probably use this version as is. But I've been doing something. I've been taking it into a specific second step, which I will show here. So right here, we see this website called Map to Globe. And in Map to Globe, it's going to basically do the same thing that Song of the Eons is doing. You can create planets, but we're going to choose. I'm going to have to go in here and find my, here we go. Find my biomes map. We're going to drop it in there. We're going to hit OK. And there it is. There is another globe view of our map. Maybe you don't need to do this. What I've been doing is going to a projection view. And you see here's our same thing. It's called Equa Rectangular map. But I've actually been going to this version, which is called Gall Stereographic. I feel like it's less wide. I think there's some of the distortion, I guess, the sort of like Mercator style distortion is gone. I don't know. I just have tended to like this a little bit better. I feel like the map ends up having, because we're on a sphere and we're flattening it out. So there are different things to do it. I just find this view to be a bit better, but you can use the other one if you want, or you can use I think if you just use the other one, it's just the plain export, right? I think this is what you're just getting from the output. Essentially, I like this one. I don't know if there's not a way to save it. As far as I know, you have to right click, save image as, and then save it somewhere. And it's going to take a minute to do some going around. And I don't know, we'll call this, where am I in pictures? Test map. You can use that one. If you use that one, I'm not going to go through in here because Photoshop's been kind of flaky on me recently. You have to go into Photoshop and essentially trim it, because in Photoshop, these sidebars are going to be in the image. And I think even this whole thing, it's taking basically the image that you're getting is this whole thing, not just the graphics. So you just have to know in there to trim out. It's going to come out as a PNG with those areas as transparent. You have to trim it. Use GIMP. I don't know other tools. I have Photoshop, so I use Photoshop. Now we have to load up Worldographer. And I'll probably use one that I trimmed of my own already just so you can see it. And we have an empty map. We're going to make a new map. I've been doing this 120 by 90. And I'm just going to generate it with, border only. You can, blank is probably the best, but blank has a gray background. I find it makes it just adds an extra level of sort of darkness over top of the map. It just darkens the map. I think it works better if you use blank only, but I'm using border only for right now. Because when we're doing the underlay stuff, I think it's meant to work with the blank tiles as opposed to border only. But we're just going to go border only just for kicks. I'm going to generate the map. All right, so we have a big map. Let's see. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Can I just zoom? Is it going to let me zoom out all the way? All right, we got a whole lot of empty hexes with borders, basically, right? Now we need to go here to trace underlay. We need to select a file. I'm going to try to find my test map that I worked with earlier. There we go. Test for Gaul. So here it is. Okay, you notice, all right, it's not going across the whole map. What is going on? Well, we got to change the image width. So I'm just going to change this to, you might notice I did 121 by 91. That is essentially so that it cuts across, the edges are covered, because you end up with kind of half hexes that are outside the area of the image. Banning image, this just makes it so that every hex, there will not be any uncolorized, underlaid hexes. I mean, no blank hexes. So here you have this wonderful map with these kind of funky, crazy biomes. And this is, look, you can stop here and go in, zoom in on an area, and then start painting away. You could zoom in here to this kind of Australia looking piece of land over here. We could just come in here and we could start dab, 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 dab. Of course, we want to take it up a notch. Another notch. We can. My cat did not like my emerald impersonation, but who would? We could use this convert underlay button. Classics. What the convert underlay button does is it tries to match the colors of your underlay with the background colors of different terrain types and then paint them accordingly. And it's going to throw a bunch of stuff in here. I've started making my own icons and my own background colors. like I mentioned before, I will put in the show notes, someone's made a nice little guide about which colors relate to which biomes, so that you could make your own mappings using there's a customized terrain in Worldographer. You can go in, you could set different terrain, different colors, and you can really get the matchup perfectly. I haven't put the time in to do that yet. So we're just going to go with the kind of default thing that they have. There's a couple of symbols that they use that I'm not a fan of, like this full mountains I'm not in love with. I'm not going to use mountains of lava. Glacier mountains are fine. See if there's anything else that strikes me as I don't like. Just give me mountains. I don't need snow capped. I guess I'll just use mountains instead of the mountain. There's things, right? And you can go in, you can fill those out as much as you want. If I had the wherewithal, I'll take out farmland because I'm not interested in stuff that speaks to civilization just yet, but I will put in, and since we're going globally, I don't need individual trees. I just need the main ones. Let's fill in a bunch of these. Fill those in and get some desert, get some sand dunes. And like I mentioned, what it's going to do is it's going to compare these colors to the colors on the image. We hit convert, it's going to go do that. We're going to get some weird stuff, particularly that red zone is not going to work because that is certainly not what Worldographer is thinking of in terms of coral. But we'll get an idea. So I believe it is working. I think. Is it? We shall see. Is it working or is it not working? Did not do anything. Add some other stuff in here. Oh, see, there it is. I forgot. See, this is the thing. It's looking for blanks, and I'm going to unclick that. So that's going to take everything. But for purposes of viewing this, I find that putting the blanks in there with that color is going to just doesn't show as well. There we go. Okay, now we're seeing, and look at that. Now there are going to be some oddity things in here. Oh, did it? You know, it put some of these mountains. Let me undo it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, never mind. Let me do it again. Oh, I hit undo and now it's cranking away. Okay. Let's do that one more time and let's not have, didn't save my choices. So I don't want you. I don't want you. I want you. Do this again. Do all you guys. You guys are all good. I'm fine with you. You. Probably a way to save these so I don't have to do it every time. I don't want you. I don't want you. I just want you. Yeah, you're good. What else do I not want? That's fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. Oops. Make sure that is unchecked. See if this is better. Spinning disk says. Turn. There we go. Oh, I still got that one. All right. Well, you know, you get the idea. You go back and undo and redo this, but now we have an entire continent worth of hexes, where we can then go in and zip around, find us a spot. Let's go down to this island over here, and you know we're on the world map level, so we can now go ahead and dip down into continent level. Let's see if this is gonna. Hopefully, it's not gonna crash anything. Bam, continent level. We got that. Hey, let's go see. Let's get to the kingdom level. Yep, do it. Do it. Is it done? Yeah, there we go. Now I won't go in any deeper, but we could get to that last level if we want to. So you have you have all the hexes you could, I imagine you could ever need. And now at some point, if you figure out how to work rivers in here somewhere, figure out where the other rivers were or do something like that, I'd be happy to. I have not tested whether bringing in overlays at different levels would work or how that would work. I have no idea, but that is a pretty great little 1, 2, 3, right? Not that complicated, not that tough. You start in that Song of Eons. You can probably take your map projection straight from there, but if you want to tweak it a little bit, you can go to that thing that's called map to globe and throw it in there. And then you can take that output, throw it into Worldographer, or if you like a different tool, throw it into that tool, presuming it has what Worldographer has, which is a cool way of turning those overlays almost instantly into hexes. Drop it in there, edit it to your heart's content, and then you can start messing around with it, and you have a whole world worth of hexes, more hexes than you could probably ever use in your average campaign. If you like this stuff, go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Hope you find it useful. If you found yourself watching this video and you think, I like the way you talk, I like the way you walk, well, throw me a subscription. Doesn't hurt you, helps me. You get notified when stuff is coming up. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching or listening to this. Game on. I will talk to you later.